first thing we want to do is make sure we can translate what we're seeing and we know how many of each thing we have. So before we balance equations, we just want to figure out if we can count atoms. So here we have Cl2 and 2Cl. Remember, the only difference is this guy is bonded. This is a molecule of chlorine, and there's two of them. So if I was to draw it, I just draw it like that. Covalently bonded. The subscript means they're together. Where 2Cls just means I have 2Cls. They're separate. Either way, they both mean there's two of them. Now, parentheses are just a group. And when we have parentheses, that's just showing they're bonded. So SO4 is a polyatomic, usually it's a polyatomic ion. And so we're just saying, okay, these guys are together. So we have 4 oxygens and 1 sulfur all by itself. Now if there's a 2 outside of the parentheses, that's saying I have 2 SO4s. So now I have 2 SO4s here. And I can just count them up. I have 1, 2 sulfurs, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 oxygens. So in other words, the shortcut would just be, I'm going to double or distribute everything here. So 2 times 4, so I have 8 oxygens, and 2 times S, I have 2 sulfurs. Okay, so a subscript outside the parentheses distributes. One inside just goes with the one it's next to. Now if I have something like this, again, the 2 distributes. So I have 2 H's, 2 hydrogens, and I distribute it there. And so my oxygens, I have 2. But it doesn't distribute to this. Just like algebra, doesn't distribute into there. Only distribute to the parentheses. So here I have 1 calcium. It's all by itself. Okay, same thing here. How many aluminums? I have 1 Al. I have a 3 here, so that triples everything inside. So it triples that, and it triples that. All right, so now we know how to count those guys. Now what if we have a coefficient, a number out front? Well, anytime you see a coefficient, I like to do this. I bracket the thing because the thing is a package deal. It's all or nothing. So I get some calcium hydroxide. I can have 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them. If this number changes, it is distributed to everything inside. So go ahead and add brackets when you see these guys, just so you know that we're distributing. Alright, so let's count this. Well, we just said the 2 doubles this, and the 2 doubles that. And my 2 doubles this, and this 2 doubles that. So I have 4. Okay, that 2 only goes to the inside, but then I have 2 CAs. Alright, over here it's a little more straightforward. My 3, I triple that. So I have 3 CAs. And I have 3 times 2 CLs, so I have 6. And over here, 4 times 2 aluminums, for 8 aluminums, and then 4 times 3 oxygens, 12 oxygens. Alright, so again, make some brackets, and just distribute the coefficient. Now, here's the good news. For balancing equations on all your future tests, you don't have to balance them because they're always going to be multiple choice tests. So you're going to be given 4 equations. You just have to find the one that is balanced. So let's see if this is balanced. I'm just going to write all my elements. I got some L, some BR, I have some K, I have some S, and I have some O. And over here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep it in the same order here. So I got AL, BR, K, S, O. Alright, let's figure out how many I have. Whoops, let's do brackets like I just said to do on the last one. Oh man, I missed. Let's erase that. Alright, so I'm just going to bracket these. It helps me visualize, especially this big one right here. Alright, so now let's figure out what I got. Well, I got 2 aluminums there. I have 2 times 3 bromines. Right here I have 3 times 2 Ks, 6 potassiums. I have 3 times my sulfur. And I have 3 times 4, 12 oxygens. Do the same thing over here. I have 6 Ks. I have 6 BRs. Over here it's just times 1, so nothing changes. So AL, I have 2. My 3 gets multiplied by S. And my 3 times my 4 O's. Okay, and I can just visually compare right to left. Clearly I have the same thing. So yes, this equation is balanced. Now what you're going to see on the final and your state test is this. Actually you're not, just kidding. What I want you to do, just like I did on the last problem, take each equation and see if it's balanced. Just write yes or no. Add up the elements on one side, add up those on the next, and continue on. Go ahead and pause the video and continue on when everyone's done. So this is a question you're going to see on the final or state test. They're asking us, is this balanced? Or which one of these is balanced? Alright, so one has to be and the other 3 are not. Process of elimination, just pick one. You can kind of eyeball it, or you can just start working them out. Let's see, so right here, I have 4 nitrogens plus 2, that's 6. So I have 6 nitrogens. Over here I have 3 times 2, 6 nitrogens. Over here I have 8 hydrogens. Over here I have 4. So 4 here, 8 here, that's no good. Okay, go ahead and do the next 3, or try and figure out which one is properly balanced. You can pause the video and restart when everyone has it figured out. Go ahead and compare your answers too. Alright, so now we can balance equations. So now back to the mole. Remember, the mole is just a unit, just like a dozen is a unit. Except for we're going to go 6 times 10 to the 23rd things. Alright? And remember, I can go mole to atoms or things. I could do molecules, whatever I want. I can do mole to grams. That's mass. And I can do mole to volume. And volume is measured in liters. 2 liters of Coke, that's volume. 20 grams of Pepsi, that's mass. Alright, how do I know which number goes with the mole? Well, here's a tip. Look at my fraction. If there's 1 mole in the fraction, I'm going to use the number 1. If there's 1 mole in my fraction, I'm going to use the 1. And again, if there's 1 mole in my fraction, I'm going to use the 1. Now for my other numbers, you have to memorize these. This is Avogadro's number, 10 to the 23rd. My grams is going to change depending on what chemical I'm talking about. My liters is always 22.4. So memorize, memorize, look it up on the periodic table. All right, and again, 1 mole, 1 mole, 1 mole. These are always 1 mole. All right, so let's work out some problems. And remember, we're going to use the process. So find the mass of 30 moles of lithium hydroxide. First step, write the given. All right, second step. I don't want the given, so I'm going to write it down here. I haven't put any numbers yet. Next step, what do I want to change to? Well, it says find mass. Mass is grams. All right, now I can fill in my numbers. Well, we said if there's 1 mole in the fraction, we always put 1. Always 1 mole. For my grams, I'm going to take my chemicals. I'm going to look them up on the periodic table. I'm going to round to tenths. Okay, lithium is 6.9 grams, oxygen is 16, and hydrogen's 1. And I add those together. And I put that up there. I cross off my like units. I'm left with grams. The question says find the grams, the mass, so I know I'm all done. And of course I'd multiply that across. Alright, next problem. What is the volume of 15 moles? So I'm going to start by writing my given, 15 moles. My next step, I don't want 15 moles. I don't want moles of neon, so I'm going to write it down here. The number never carries down. On the top, what am I trying to change to? Volume. That's liters. Again, no numbers until I have both units. Alright, so in my fraction I have 1 mole only, so that means 1 mole. 1 mole in the fraction, 1 number. Liters, this is a number I memorized. It's also on the back of my periodic table in case I forget. Cross off my like units. I'm in liters, that's volume. I'm all done. Multiply across and we're finished. Alright. And our third type, how many molecules? Well, 5 moles of copper. How many molecules in there? Well, I don't want moles of copper, so I put it down here. I do want how many. I want a quantity. So molecules up here. It's actually atoms, but that's okay. There's 1 mole in the fraction, so I write 1. And how many? Avogadro's number of things. Cross off my like units, and I'd multiply across, and I'd have my right answer. Alright, work out each of these problems. You see the solution is there. Work it out, compare your answers. If you get a wrong answer, tune in to the second part of this video and I will work them out. If you get them all right, you are done. Alright, pause the video, work them out. Again, if you have the wrong answers, check for part 2.